Hey, this is Jonathan Evans. As many of you know, this year, being 2020, we've introduced leadership values into our culture. So we now have 7 leadership values. What do we mean by values? Well, when we gather together as an eldership, as a leadership, we ask the question, what do we want to see represented or modeled in Elim Grace Leaders? Now, one approach was to go outside of what we already do and who we already have as leaders and to look to books and other areas and resources for what we think would be good values for our leadership. We didn't take that approach. The question we asked was, who do we think is already leading well within Elim Grace? Who do we think is already a good leader, and why do we think that? What about them do we consider to be valuable to us as a church? What about them do we consider to be a value that we want to see reproduced in others? And so we looked through our entire leadership. We looked at each and every one of them, and we asked that question. And so all of that combined, we distilled 7 values. And so over the course of the year, I want to remind us of what those values are. 1, so that we can, as a leadership, keep ourselves accountable. 2, so that we can be on the lookout for new leaders that we believe God wants to raise up. And number 3, so that you as a congregation can also keep us accountable, and hopefully we are able to model these values to you. So the number 1 value for us is worship Jesus freely. So an Elim Grace leader is someone who worships Jesus freely. That is, they're able to easily and freely enter into worship, into our time of worship. They don't stand back and look around. They're not disinterested, but rather they lead the way in worship. Now, this is going to look a little bit different for each and every one of our leaders as it pertains to their personality and temperament, and of course, whatever season of life we're going through. We know that those seasons affect us. But nevertheless, Elim Grace leaders are those who are first to worship. They lead the way. They easily and freely enter in. You've heard me say in one, if not more than one sermon, that one of the things that I look out for and I look to is when I'm on stage leading worship, I often look at our leaders. Are they worshiping with me? Are they entering into worship? So we don't want to be just those that worship on stage. We want to be those that are worshiping in the chairs and in every other facet of life, but in particular in our times of worship. Are we those, and we want to be those, that are freely and entering into worship?